Welcome back to the Maelstrom, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be debuting Apocalypse. We are doing the basic mission, Apocalyptic Assault, and we're going to be playing 310 power level each. We started at 300, had a couple of extra units we wanted to add in. It is going to be Blood Angels versus Death Guard. In this scenario, we have 6 objectives. We have gone for a theme with this. The fortifications you see away from you represent the outskirts of a hive city, and the Prometheum refinery here has been abandoned to begin the defense of the hive city because Mortarion has led his Death Guard in an assault to despoil the population here in the name of Nurgle. The Blood Angels are defending the trenches in an attempt to put a stop to his onslaught. So we have our 6 objectives set up thematically for that reason. One is this tower, one is this supply box, and then 2 are in the bunkers across the center to represent the flanking positions there that the Blood Angels are trying to keep intact. And then their final defensive line here, these small bunkers on either end, represent the last objectives. So whoever has the most units within 6 inches of each objective scores a point if they control more at the end of the turn than the other player. So we will be right back with a general walk down of our armies. This is the initial table. Blood Angels defending the opposite side, Death Guard coming in from the refinery. First up, we have the Blood Angel Strike Force. Eric is going to walk us down what he brought today.
So for my characters, I brought a Sanguinary Priest, a Librarian on a bike, Dante, the Chief Librarian Mephiston, and a Primaris Librarian. Following them up, I have a Death Company squad of 10 men with Death Company weapons, 2 10-man assault squads, just basic weaponry, and 2 5-man Terminator squads, 1 assault squad, 1 shooting squad. Next up, I have a drop pod with 10 tactical marines inside. Following them up, I have a 10-man Devastator squad outfitted with 4 missile launchers. Then I have 2 squads of 5 scouts with sniper rifles. And I have a Primaris section of the army, 3 squads of 10 infiltrators, and a squad of 10 intercessors. On top of that, I have 3 dreadnoughts, a Furioso, a regular, and a Death Company dreadnought. Then, for the armored section of the army, I have 2 Storm Ravens, 3 Trilaz Predators, 3 Bell Predators, and a Land Raider Crusader.
Next up, we have the forces of Mortarion's Legion. To start things off, we'll go over our armor. We have a Hellbrute with a Twin Laz and a Brute Fist. We have 4 Fetid Bloat Drones. 2 of them have Blight Launchers, and 2 of them have Plague Spitters. We have a Land Raider set up here on the corner. Then we have 3 Rhinos to carry our squads, 3 Predator Annihilators, and 3 Siege Burst Crawlers. For our characters and our elite HQ complement, we have a Demon Prince of Nurgle and Mortarion himself. We have from the elite section a Putrefier, a Blight Spawn, a Blightbringer, a Tallyman, and a Plague Surgeon. Then we have a Chaos Lord and a Lord of Contagion. We have a Malignant Plaguecaster and Typhus. We have 3 squads of 5 Blight Lord Terminators. They have 2 Blight Launchers and a Plague Spitter across the 3 squads. We have 3 Mephitic Blight Haulers. We have 5 or 6 squads of Plague Marines, 5 men each. 4 of them have Blight Launchers, 2 of them have Plague Spitters. And then we have 3 squads of 10 Poxwalkers. So that is going to be Nurgle's contribution to the battle. Those are organized into detachments, but for today we already had our forces set up. We did not organize those by the detachments. So that is the armies. You have seen the table. We will be back as the Maelstrom descends into the apocalypse. Alright, deployment is complete. The armies are set for this clash. Eric is finished first with his Blood Angels. He's going to walk us down his setup.
So my right flank is brought up with the Primaris detachment. They are foot slogging it the whole way. Next to them are their Dreadnought companions with the Primaris Librarian behind them. My left flank is all my armored support and the Librarian on a bike. My scouts and my Devastator squad are all in buildings, and my flyers are bringing up the rear.
All right, and then you have all of your jump packers and your drop pods in reserve, yes?
Yes.
Along with the Terminators. All right, Death Guard Terminators are in reserve as well, along with the Lord of Contagion. We have our Chaos Lord, along with our Siege Burst Crawlers and our Land Raider on this flank. We have our Demon Prince with our block of Demon Engines bringing up the front. The Death Guard Infantry here, all four Blight Launcher squads on foot, along with the Hellbrute, all of the helper characters, except for the Tallyman and the Plaguecaster. Then we have the Foul Blight Spawn and the two Plague Spitter squads and the Rhinos, with the empty Rhino on the far flank beside Mortarion. Predators are defending the Prometheum field with Typhus, the Tallyman, and the zombie squads surrounding them for support. So that is initial setup. We're going to dice now for initiative. The Death Guard are looking at a 5 with a 3 for the Blood Angels. So Death Guard are going to have initiative going into turn 1. We will be back once the carnage has begun. All right, with the Death Guard having the initiative, they did drop reinforcements first. Our Blight Lords, along with our Lord of Contagion, deep struck back here behind the block of Primaris Infantry. The Blood Angels countered by dropping back here with a mass of jump packers, Terminators, and a 10-man squad out of a drop pod, all led by Commander Dante against these poor 20 Poxwalkers. So we're going to go ahead and launch into the first turn here, and then we will be back. Alright, turn 1 is in the books up to the damage phase. We went ahead and worked through all of our units. Back here in this corner, Typhus and the Poxwalkers were jumped by all of the Blood Angels. They were able to, in their turn, do some fighting back. Typhus used Plague Wind early on in the turn to put some blast markers across several of the Blood Angel units, and then he used Nurgle's Rot as well at the end of his action to put a few more. The Poxwalkers were able to put a couple more blast markers, so we got the Assault Marines in danger, taking some damage. Terminators have taken a little bit of a hit. Dante does have one marker on him, and then we've got the Assault Marines here. They were okay, right? They didn't take any damage.
Correct.
All right. And Mortarion flew up here. He put some damage in on the Dreadnoughts with Lantern and put a large and a small blast marker on this Bell Predator after they had advanced. And the Terminators moved up and fired several shots in the back, put tons of blast markers across the Primaris section, coupled with the Plague Burst Crawlers, who lobbed their shells in from the back on take aim order. The bulk of the army here in the middle just went ahead and advanced. They fired to some effect against the Primaris Marines, but didn't get a whole lot done. And the Dreadnoughts took a drubbing from the las cannons from both the Predators and the Land Raider. Eric, what you got for the Blood Angels?
So my Primaris Marines, they primarily fired at the Terminators, hopefully knocked some of them down. Through the combined firepower of my Devastators and my Scouts, I put a couple blast markers on his Lord by the Terminators. My Bell Predator and my Land Raider Crusader put 3 blast markers on Mortarion.
3 large blast markers. So he is in hurt. Go ahead.
My 3 Tri-Las Predators fired down the field and put a bunch of blast markers on his Predators. The Jump Pack assaulted in what they could, shot what they could, didn't really do a whole lot. I played Vortex Grenade and was able to put 1 large blast marker on Typhus.
Uh-huh. And also Storm Ravens.
Storm Ravens fired on the Land Raider and put a couple of blast markers on it.
It was, 3 large total, so put a pretty good little hit in there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and work damage and figure out the best way to mark the casualties as they come. We will be back. All right, the damage phase has rolled to an end. Some very surprising results have to get used to. These guys were wiped out. The Assault Marines failed their saves and were destroyed, as did Dante, needing 1 4+ on 1d12 and rolled a 2 and died. And then the Poxwalkers, who had a large and a small, took the large and passed the small with an 11. Some very strange stuff going on here. Over here we lost both Predators. This one failed both saves. This one made one of his 6+ saves and then failed his freaking morale check and blew up. Pilot just could not handle the excitement. However, the Blood Angels, not to be outdone, did the exact same thing right here. Had a Bell Predator with 1 wing left that died to morale. Very strange mechanic, going to take some getting used to. Hellbrute, exact same thing. Took 1 damage, then failed his morale and popped. All 3 dreadnoughts exploded here. And over here, the Primaris squads, the 2 up front took 2 wounds, the 1 on the far end took 1 wound, and the intercessors took a go to ground so that they could double their saves, needing 3 pluses, and rolled 3 2s and a 1 and died. The Death Guard, matching them again in the Sanguinius, failed all 4 of the 4+ saves they were called to make back here, and all of the Ignore Pain. 1 squad is damaged, 1 squad died, and the Lord of Contagion died. Down here, he played a Null Zone in an attempt to finish 3 wounds in Mortarion, but Mortarion was able to get 1 of his Ignore Pains. And the Rhino took a wound, but luckily was not as cowardly as all the stuff around him that decided to pop out of fear. So that is turn 1 in the books. Land Raider over here also down to 1 wound, and Storm Raven down 1 wound. So we're going to go ahead and get into turn 2 here. We got an initiative coming up next. So the Death Guard have a 4, and the Blood Angels have a 9. I assume you're taking the initiative?
Yep.
All right, Blood Angels will react first. We will be back after turn 2. Turn 2 is wrapped up to the damage phase. Down here, we had a whole lot of nothing from Typhus and his Poxwalkers. They were unable to do any damage. However, Typhus did throw a Demon Shell and put 2 large blast markers on the Death Company, along with a small blast marker to the Terminators back here. These Poxwalkers did take some shooting and take a large blast marker. Terminators were able to shoot and do 1 to these Poxwalkers before they came in. And here we were able to take the Tallyman, or the Tallyman took 1 blast marker. However, his Predator, they were sitting on aimed fire. The Predator was able to put a couple of blast markers on his opposition Predator's downrange. The Siege Burst Crawlers and the Land Raider fired most of their weapons in on the Primaris constituent. We did fire the las cannons into the guys in the backfield, the Predators there. Between that and the Plague Marines who advanced into range to fire, we were able to put tons of blast markers out. This squad has 2 large, 1 small, 3 large, and 4 large, 1 small. The Demon Prince led his contingent of Demon Engines up, and they were able to fire and put 2 large blast markers on the Devastators in cover, and their Blight Launchers did contribute slightly to this damage. Terminators took return fire from the Primaris detachment, took 1 small blast marker on the wounded squad, 2 large, and 1 small on the other squad. Down here, Predators took a smattering of anti-tank, like we said. The silence from Mortarion was able to do a couple to this Predator, and then it took some more damage from las cannons and other anti-tank fire throughout the turn from the Mephitic Blight Haulers. However, they did return the favor big time against the Blight Haulers. And did them 3 large blasts and 1 small over the course of the turn. We did play an enemy Voxnet subverted, or it would have been much worse. These guys were on aimed fire. They had to switch over to a standard advance order because of enemy Voxnet subverted. And at that point, they missed a ton of shots on 2s. The Bell Predator did fall back from Mortarion. Their shots went into Mortarion for the most part and did absolutely nothing. But their Storm Bolters were able to contribute, or Heavy Bolters were able to contribute a couple of blast markers elsewhere. Mortarion then flew into combat with the Storm Raven. They had both peeled back to here and put 2 large blast markers on it. However, before that happened, they were able to deal a ton of blast markers to the infantry here in the open. So we're going to go ahead and process damage, and then we will be back. Alright, another bloody turn of apocalypse rolls to an end. The Death Company, despite taking 2 large and 1 small, managed to hang in there by taking 1 total wound against Typhus. Typhus made his save as well. These Poxwalkers were not as fortunate. They died after having feasted on Dante in the past turn. These Terminators, despite only taking 1 small blast marker, did take a wound, along with this squad and this squad of Poxwalkers, both losing a wound. No damage done here. Predator was knocked down 1 wound here. Moving over into the bulk here, 1 squad of Plague Marines, despite all odds, did manage to survive with a large and a small blast marker. The other squad that had taken 3 large and 1 small went exactly as we expected and was turned to rotten mulch in the center of the table. Mortarion's damage was silence, was able to bring the Storm Raven down. This Rhino exploded. This Predator took a wound. 2 of the 3 Predators in the back were destroyed, leaving the other one with 1 wound. And then the Devastators failed their saves and were destroyed, along with 2 of the 3 squads of Primaris Marines. The final squad managed to hang in there with 1 wound. And then each of the Terminator squads back here survives with 1 wound. So that is it for turn 2. We will be back momentarily with turn 3. Turn 3, the damage phase is up next. Getting a little bit sparser. Started off, Blood Angels did have initiative. They went ahead and started here. They were able to do a few more blast markers to the zombie squads and leave them reeling near death. The zombies did fall back so that we could fire here with the artillery. We were able to put 2 large blast markers on the assault terminators and 1 large blast marker on the shooty terminators. Typhus was unable to get anything done here. Took a large blast marker from the Death Company. However, he did cast Death Hex. We did a laser burn back here across the attack squad, the Death Company, and the assault squad. But we're unable to get any 7+s there. And then we used Lookout Sir to cast those off to these zombies who were pretty much assuredly dead anyway. The Predator here took a small blast marker and then fired on the Storm Raven along with all of the Marines who peeled back since it is getting thin on infantry. And we put 5 large blast markers and 1 small on this Storm Raven. So doubt he's going to be here at the end of the turn, but we'll see what happens. Storm Raven fired here to no effect with his multi-melta. His Storm Bolter or Hurricane Bolters were able to do 2 large blast markers to this squad. And then he fired his multi-meltas here, I'm sorry, and did 1 small blast. Down on the other end of the table, the Terminators assaulted and were able to get in against the Sanguinary Priest. They did him no damage. Did him 1 blast marker. He did 1 back to them. Scouts traded 1 for 1 here. They shot and dealt a wound, and then the Blight Lords charged into them and did 1. The Librarian took 2 before charging in here to prevent himself from being shot anymore. Mortarion locked up the Land Raider and 1 of the Bell Predators and did a couple of blast markers to the Land Raider. Bell Predator in the lead there took 1 large, 1 small, and that was the only damage done there. Mortarion does have a large blast marker on him from the turn as well, along with this Predator. A couple other smalls scattered across the Demon Engines, and the Demon Prince from Bloodlance from this Librarian. He was able to wound Drone, the Blight Haulers, and the Demon Prince with Bloodlance. So we're going to work this damage phase real quick, and then we will be back. Turn 3 is in the books. Down here, the Blood Angels played the Armor of Contempt to take saves for these Terminators on D12s, which did keep them in the fight. They did fail morale and take 1 damage, but did stick around. These Terminators were laid low by their save because of Death Hex, and these zombies, after taking the hits for Typhus, were slaughtered brutally. This Marine squad had 1 small blast, made their save, and failed their morale, which kind of became a habit over the course of the night. Everything up here made their save. Mortarion initially failed his, but we used a card to reroll that save and keep him at 2 wounds, and this Bell Predator was destroyed. To no one's surprise, the Storm Raven exploded brilliantly here. This Siege Burst Crawler did take 1 wound. And then over here, the Sanguinary Priest and the Scouts were slain along with the Predator. So that is going to give the majority of the objectives to the Death Guard. That'll make it 2-1 in their favor at the end of the turn. And at that point, the Blood Angels are going to go ahead and call it with the casualties mounting and little way to break through with the main body of their remaining guys still hunkered back here fighting off what they were initially engaged with. They're not going to have time to regain those objectives. So it will be a Death Guard victory. The Hive City has fallen. We will have all of our normal stuff on the Facebook page if you want to take a look there. We will have links there in the description for you to get to that page. Make sure that if you like what you saw, you give us a subscription, hit that bell so that you will get notifications when we put out new videos. As always, guys, thanks for spending time with us today at the Maelstrom.